Hello everyone. This hour on Verbling, the next in my Getting Results in Business series. So far in this unit talking about ethical business, doing ethical business, what we've done is present vocabulary, particularly collocations, such as take responsibility for, comply with regulations, that kind of thing. And we've also learned how to interchange nouns and adjectives, like, for example, we have bribe and bribery, noun forms. I can think of a few others we've had. Well, what I think we should do is to start off the class by going back to our vocabulary, doing a quick review, and see if we could take our answers from the previous exercise and switch them back to the part of speech that they were originally. That will give you a good review, and we'll see some of the vocabulary that we had to learn. Then we're going to move on to the second part, where we start the new section. In today's class, we're going to focus on key expressions that you would use. If you hang on a second here, what I'm going to do is actually open my presentation too, so I know what I'm talking about. I say key expressions and then right, I found it. Key expressions for making plans and arrangements. And we're going to be picking out these key expressions by listening to a meeting and trying to figure out the structure, I guess we could say, the structure of the conversation, picking out the key expressions that led to that structure. What were they trying to communicate, and how did they get it across best? All right, that's a little bit about the class. You already know me, but I'll introduce myself again. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up, which means turn off your microphone when you're not speaking so we can keep the classroom quiet. Tune in to the new words when you are speaking so I can use them actively, so I can correct you and give you feedback. And finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. That's all you need to know about me. Let me see if I can open my presentation for today, because I just realized I don't have it in front of me. Give me a second here, and we will get started. Oh, I forgot. So as I was saying in the introduction, before we do anything else, let's go back and do a little review of our key vocabulary. So actually, while I'm downloading the presentation, I'm going to share my screen with you. Give me just a second to open this up, and we're going to go back to our notes. Give me just a second. One second here. We're going to go back to our notes as soon as I can get this document open. And I'm going to ask you to change the part of speech of our key vocabulary words from Friday. Give me just a second here. One moment. There we go. Okay, can everyone see this blue Getting Results in Business logo on the screen in front of you?
Yes.
Yes from Daniel. Everyone else can see it?
Yes.
Yes. Sylvia? Yes from... Who else is there? I can't see your name, sorry. Oh, Germaine, is it? Germain. How do I say your name?
Germán.
Germain. And where are you from, Germain?
It's pronounced like if I have the H the first letter. I'm okay, thank you.
So it's Hernan, not Jernan.
Yes.
And where are you from, Hernan?
From Mexico.
From Mexico. Fantastic. Mexico City?
No, I am from Costa Rica. It's a city on the state of Veracruz.
Ah, okay, in Veracruz. Okay,
Yes, it's 3 hours long away from uh, Mexico City.
very good, very good. Well, nice to have you with us. Listen,
Thank you.
if you weren't in the previous classes, it's not a problem. These are conversation classes, but using business vocabulary. So you'll catch up quickly. So I gave you the link to this in your notes, in the chat window, sorry. And if you go down there, if you ever get lost, you just go to jump to topic. Right now we're doing unit 22. If you click on it, whoops. There we go. Oh, it clicked, but it didn't work. Hold on. Let me update
It doesn't
this.
work today, Berlin chat.
Verbal chat doesn't work?
No.
Okay. Hold on. Then hang on a second. Okay, those are the note documents. That's the notes. And the second link I'm going to give you, you'll see, is the presentation. Okay. So, if you want to open either the notes or the presentation, okay, use those links inside of the chat window in the group chat, okay? But for now, let's look at the screen. Class 4 was on Friday. And you'll notice all of the vocabulary that we learned is there. So the first set is collocations, like to take an active part in, to stay true to our principles. These are all things that came up in the activities that we were doing. We read a text, we picked out the key words of the text, we had a discussion, things like that. What I want to do is, as a quick review, I want to take a look at the second list there on number 8 where it says noun versus adjective forms. And what I'd like you to do is convert the form. These are our answers, but what I want you to do is convert the word back to the original. Okay, so if it's a noun, it's got to become an adjective, and if it's an adjective, it's got to become a noun. So Daniel, you were here in that class. Ethical is an adjective. You remember the noun form of the word?
Ethically.
Ethical is an adjective. Ethically is an adverb.
Uh-huh.
Right? What would the noun form be? And if you like, I can give you ethic or ethics.
Ethics.
Ethics. Probably the more common form. Ethics. Okay, very good. Responsible. Hold on a second. I got to see who's here. I have to keep going back because I can't see anything. Sylvia, there we go. Responsible. Is that a noun or an adjective?
Adjective.
Adjective. What would the noun be?
Response. No.
No. That's a verb. You must have lots of what?
Responsibility.
Responsibility. Responsibility. Okay. And Hernan, credibility. Is that a noun or is that an adjective? What do you think, Hernan?
I think it's a noun.
I think you're right. So what's the adjective form?
Credible.
Credible. Very good. Back to Daniel. Generosity. Noun or adjective?
Noun.
Okay. Adjective would be?
Generous.
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 Generous. Okay. Good. Sylvia, fairness. Noun or adjective?
Adjective.
Let's see. If you can put the verb to be in front of it, then it's an adjective. I am fairness. Uh-oh, doesn't sound good. So it can't be an adjective because it sounds bad after the verb to be. It is fairness. Uh-oh, no. So it's a noun. It's a noun. Because we could say to have fairness, to have it. So if we can have it, it's a noun. So what would be the adjective form then, Sylvia?
I don't know. I don't know what's the meaning.
Fair is justo.
Ah. Screen.
Look, it isn't what?
Fair, no.
Say
Fair,
again?
I think. Fair.
I can hear you.
Fair. Fair.
Fair. Correct. It isn't fair is the adjective. Okay? So try that trick. Put the verb to be. If it sounds bad, that means it's a noun, right? If it sounds good, it's an adjective. Put the verb to have. If it sounds good, it's a noun. If it sounds bad, it's an adjective. So that's our little trick for quickly figuring out which form is which. What about discrimination, Hernan?
Discrimination is a noun.
Yeah, to have discrimination. It's possible to say that. Okay. Now, what about the adjective? It is what?
Discriminity.
Discriminity doesn't exist. Good guess. That law is completely what? That law is completely. If you're not sure, you can pass to Daniel.
Okay, pass.
Pass Daniel. That law is completely what?
Discriminatory.
Right. Discriminatory. Hard to spell, but that's it. By the way, Hernan, we learned that on last Friday and Thursday. So remember, this is a review for people who were already in the class. For you, it's an introduction. So I don't expect you to know it offhand because we get this stuff through reading or listening. Okay? So Daniel, you're right. It's discriminatory. What about, Daniel, what about prejudiced? Prejudice.
It's a noun.
It's a noun, right? To have prejudice. What about to be? To be?
Prejudice.
Yeah. What?
Predatory.
Tory? No.
No.
Not Tory.
Not Tory.
Not necessary. There's a much easier form you could use. Much easier form.
The
judge. The judge. What?
Prejudice. I don't know.
What's the ending we need? Tory doesn't work. I'll tell you that. The judge was completely blank because he sentenced more black people to jail than he did white. He was completely what? If you're not sure, then pass, Daniel.
Prejudice.
Almost prejudiced.
Prejudiced.
Exactly. So we just have to add the ed ending and it becomes an adjective. Okay, very good. We got it. Okay. Sylvia, bribery. Can we say it was a case of bribery? Does that sound good?
Yes.
It does sound good. So
it's a noun.
So it's a noun. To be bribery, that does not sound good. To be bribery does not sound good. So what is that? What should it be? I mean, what should it be? To be?
To be briber.
What's the ending of the word you're using?
Without the Y.
You mean the letter Y?
Yes. Yes, Y.
Ah. Briber? Just like that? That doesn't seem right.
Okay.
Well, look,
Bribed?
bribed.
Okay.
So bribery is a noun, but if we use the past tense of the verb, it becomes an adjective. Bribed.
Okay.
Bribed. All right? So last two, and we've got Yuki joining us now as well. So Yuki, if you look on the screen, you can see a word we learned last week, corruption.
Yes.
If,
Yes. Corruption is noun. Adjective is corrupt.
Exactly, with the t at the end. Corrupt. Very good. And I think we're back to the beginning for Hernan for deception.
It's a noun.
It's a noun. Good.
To be decept.
To be. Once again.
Decept.
To be. Not decept, but well, spell it for me. Maybe you're right. Spell it for me.
This D-E-C-B-E-P-T.
Oh, I'm lost. I'm lost. Wait. D-E-C. What comes after the C?
E.
E like Edward. Okay.
B.
B like
P.
boy.
P.
B like Papa.
No. Like the sep. Yes.
I know, but when you're spelling the word, if it's not easy to hear, then you should turn it into another word like P like Papa, B like boy. So it's really easy. So the problem here is, if you say P, we've got a problem because P is in the noun. Guess what? In the adjective, we have to go back to the verb, which is to deceive. The verb is to deceive. So if we use deceive, we've got our adjective form as well. So all we have to do is put it in the past. So the answer would be deceived. Deceived. Instead of deception, if that makes sense. Deceived. Okay, that was a little review of some of what we did in the last time. So, in the future, go to your notes and look at class number 4 if you want to review the collocations or the word family. Word family means whether it's a noun, adjective, the form of the word, or word formation, whatever you want to call it. It'll be there. Some of the other vocabulary we learned is in class 3 and in class 2. We have some business words for the first class in class 2, and we have some connectors in class 3. So all of this came up in the context of the previous classes. Now that you know that, let's get to the real business of today, which is starting something new. So I'm going to go back here, open our presentation. Give me a second. There we go. And the new thing that we're going to do is, give me a second here, whoops, is this. We've been talking about ethical business and working out vocabulary, specifically word patterns, what we call collocations, like take responsibility for, comply with regulations, etc. Also, word families, ethical or ethics. Okay, but today we're going to work on business communication skills, specifically explaining plans and arrangements in the context of ethical business, in the context of making ethical decisions. All right? So, as always, it's great to pick out the key expressions by doing a little bit of listening. So you're going to be listening to a meeting and make any necessary changes to the notes. Let's quickly, oh, we lost Yuki. Let's quickly read through the notes. So let's start with this. Daniel, do you think you could read the context for us so we know a little bit about the meeting, what we're going to be what we're listening for.
Okay. Hummingbird tea sells specialty teas from China, India and South Africa. The unique selling point of the business is its ethos.
We usually say ethos in English.
Ethos.
Ethos.
It's ethos. It sources teas from small, local farmers and supports fair trade. It has recently brought in Claire from a PR company.
PR. Say
PR.
it really there we go. Good.
PR company to help raise its profile. Claire has been organizing Claire has been organizing a treat for reporters from ethical consumer magazines to see Hummingbird's operation. She is meeting with the reporters to give details of the treat.
That's right. She's meeting with reporters. So this sounds like it's something like a press conference, I suppose. So how Sylvia, how would you describe Hummingbird Teas? What kind of company is it, in your opinion?
About magazine?
No, about the company, Hummingbird Teas. Based on this context, what kind of company do you think it is? How would you describe it?
Can I read a little bit? About farmers, I think. So agriculture.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And exportation and.
What makes Hummingbird Teas different from a company like, or from a company like Halliburton, or a company like any other big company? What sets it apart? What's the unique thing about Hummingbird Teas?
Okay, they have a more ethical profile.
Exactly. We don't use the word profile in English the way you do in Italian. So we have to find a better word instead of profile. I don't know what that word is. Here's one thing you could say. They are more ethical.
Yes.
Rather than using the word profile. They're more ethical. Okay. Has everyone heard of fair trade? We've talked about that in this class before, but has everyone heard of fair trade?
Yes.
Yeah? Can you think of any other fair trade companies?
Nature, it's a soap.
It's like a franchise that sells bath and toiletry products, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That we have that here in Portugal too. What about Starbucks? Is that a fair trade company?
No.
No, why not? Why not?
They're like McDonald's.
They're not, though. They're not. McDonald's is evil.
Yes.
McDonald's is egregiously evil. Starbucks is less evil. Here's why I say that. Because I don't know the extent. I don't know how good or bad they are, but I know that they're fair trade in the sense that they try to have benefits for their employees. They try to. I don't know how good they really are, but for example, they have an education program for their employees. They have certain benefits that fast food workers don't tend to have. Now, in reality, I don't know how much better they are, but they're not quite as bad as McDonald's. But the point is, fairness to the employees is supposed to be part of their company ethos. Hernan, what do you think ethos means? What do you think ethos means? Maybe if you could substitute it with a simpler word, what could you say? Ethos.
No, I don't have an idea.
Well, if I say the company's ethos is to treat its to treat its workers fairly. The company's ethos.
Agreements?
Agreement. Agreement. Okay, I'm with you. Agreement with whom? I think it's the right idea, but agreement between whom?
Uh, between employers and coworkers? I'm sorry.
Uh-huh. Well, I think it's more between the management. In other words, the people who make the decision have the ethos. But to an extent, you might be right. Maybe it's also between the workers and the management. In other words, in, in other in other words, ethos is like the character, because ethos means character, the character of the company, the way it sees itself, the policy of the company. But it's not a legal word. That's why I'm trying to be a little bit careful here. So in the context, we got ethos, which is a great business word. In reality, it's hard to define. So for example, Google has the ethos of, supposedly, the ethos of creativity. Because you have a big pool table instead of a board meeting, a boardroom, and the Googleplex is shaped like an octopus and there's lots of games instead of being a normal office building. So the ethos is about being young and innovative, the spirit of the place. Does that make sense, Hernan? The spirit of the place.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, good. So now that we know ethos and we know what fair trade is, look at the notes on the right side. Can you read those to us for the class, Yuki, if you don't mind? On the left side, I'm sorry.
Okay, left side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Trip planned to China or South Africa to be confirmed. 5 days traveling around different tea plantations. Opportunities for sightseeing will be provided. 2 people dates for trip, February and March. 2 international flights.
2 internal flights.
Sorry, 2 internal flights.
Okay, so these are notes from the meeting, but there may be some mistakes. So your job is to correct those mistakes. And on the next slide, okay, I don't have it here. So you're going to correct or add any information that's missing. If you have trouble as I'm reading this, if you have any trouble, remember you can always cheat by going to the last. In this case, it's going to be the second to last slide, slide 12. Okay? But I prefer that you don't read. I prefer that you just try to use your ears for this part of the class. Okay, here we go. Reporter asks Claire, will we get our itinerary in writing after this meeting, or should we take notes? Claire says, we'll email you the final itinerary once you've decided what you'd like to see. And if you have any other questions, you can ask our travel coordinator, Janet Lawson. She's coming in later on this morning to speak with you. Claire continues. So, we're planning to show you how Hummingbird's operation works in China and some projects it's involved in. The idea is to spend 4 days at one of the sites where the tea is grown. This will give you the opportunity to talk to the locals who supply the company. Reporter 2 asks, so can we interview them? Claire responds, yes, but we advise you set this up directly with them and ask their permission first. And of course, do be discreet and respectful of their privacy. While you're there, you'll get the opportunity to accompany the workers in their daily work. This will give you a real insight into their lives and how hummingbirds' teas are produced. Okay, now the schedules. We've looked at all the options and we're going to arrange 2 dates, one in February and one in May. The February flight leaves on the 15th, so we need fixed bookings from you by January the 10th. Reporter 3 asks, can I just, we're returning on the 19th or the 20th of February. Claire responds, the 20th. The trip will involve a lot of road travel and one internal flight. Okay, now that you've heard this one time, were there any differences between the notes on the board, the notes on the screen, and what was actually said? Just out of curiosity. Any differences that you noticed?
Yes.
Okay. Go for it, Daniel.
First point,
Mm-hmm.
the trip is planned to China.
The trip is planned to China. And what about South Africa? Is South Africa included?
No,
No, it's not.
I don't hear anything about South Africa.
Then it's not included, right? So the trip is only planned to China. That's point number one. Very good. Okay. What about point number 2? 5 days traveling around different tea plantations. Did anyone pick that up?
4 days, maybe?
4 days instead of 5 days. That's right. By the way, Hernan and Sylvia, did you hear those differences as well?
Yes.
Okay. Because you're so quiet. Sylvia, what about number 3? Opportunities for sightseeing will be provided.
Yes, it's true.
It's false.
False.
It's false. It's false because she says
They can see and they can talk with the people there and ask questions.
You can do it on your own, I think. Give me just a second. I'll see if I can find the exact place. We're showing you how the operation works. You'll spend 4 days. This will give you the opportunities to talk to locals. While you're there, you'll get the opportunity to accompany workers in a daily routine. This will give you blah, blah, blah. The options we're going to... So I guess the easiest way to say it is that she doesn't talk about it. She excludes sightseeing as a topic. So I'm going to say that there are no opportunities, but in reality, yeah, you could do it on your own if you wanted to. You could do it on your own, but she's not going to provide those opportunities, right? So I would say no opportunity. It's false. And Hernan, what about number 4? 2 possible dates for the trip, February and March.
Yes, I heard about 2 possible dates, but I don't know if were February and March.
Well,
May.
Say again?
May.
May is correct. So it's February
Yes.
and May. By the way, did anyone catch the deadline for the bookings? She asked everyone to book their flights.
10.
10 January.
10th of January. Bookings are needed for the 10th. That's right. Okay, finally it says 2 internal flights. What do you think, Yuki?
I think that trip will involve only one internal flight.
I think you're right. 1 internal flight. There'll be lots of road travel, but only one internal flight in China. That's right. Okay. So that was a little test of your ability to get some details as you listen. Was that difficult? Easy? So-so?
So-so.
So-so.
Difficult
Well, here's the deal.
to understand only by listening.
Here's the deal. If you were doing this in an exam, they would always play the listening 2 times, without exception. There is no exam where you hear things once that I know of.
IELTS, I think, 1 time only.
I really doubt it. Are you sure about that? The IELTS?
I'm not sure, but I thought that only 1 time.
I doubt it. I mean, I haven't taught the IELTS in a long time, but I doubt it, only because all the other Cambridge exams have that policy. You always listen twice because it is difficult. The IELTS is a Cambridge exam too, so I imagine it's the same. But I could be wrong. I mean, if it's a short listening, maybe you only get to listen once. The I'm trying to think of the TOEFL.
I'll tell you because I'm finding information about it.
Well, I can look it up after class, but I really doubt it. It's only once, for this reason, because it is difficult.
Yeah, I know.
Right. The first time you listen, you should just be listening for the general idea. The second time, you should be listening for the details. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Well,
I hope you're right.
I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway, if not, we can also work on listening skills. It's not too difficult to learn how to listen strategically. It's not that difficult once you get the hang of it. Okay, so I think you've all got the general idea because you're able to make the corrections. What I want you to do is listen a second time, and this time I want you really to listen for the language. Remember, if you want to cheat, go to slide number 12 and read and listen at the same time. Okay? What I want you to do is be able to fill in the key expressions, ideally only using your ears. Ideally. Which you've booked. Let me just make sure this is the right thing. Okay, here we go. Reporter 1. Will we get our itinerary in writing after this meeting, or should we take notes? Claire. We'll email you the final itinerary once you've decided what you'd like to see. And if you have any other questions, you can ask our travel coordinator, Janet Lawson. She's coming in later on this morning to speak with you. So we're planning to show you how Hummingbird's operation works in China and some of the projects it's involved in. Reporter 2 says, that sounds good. Claire says, the idea is to spend 4 days at one of the sites where the tea is grown. This will give you the opportunity to talk to the locals who supply the company. Reporter 2, so can we interview them? Claire, yes, but we advise you to set this up directly with them and ask their permission first. And of course, do be discreet and respect their privacy. Reporter 2, of course. Claire, while you're there, you'll get the opportunity to accompany the workers in their daily work. This will give you real insight into their lives and how Hummingbirds' teas are produced. Reporter 1, that sounds really interesting. Claire, okay, now the schedules. We've looked at all the options, and we're going to arrange 2 dates, one in February and one in May. The February flight leaves on the 15th, so we need fixed bookings from you by January the 10th. Reporter 3 asks, can I just, are we returning on the 19th or the 20th of February? Claire responds, on the 20th. The trip will involve a lot of road travel and 1 internal flight. Okay, based on the second listening, do you think you can fill in the missing information, the missing keywords? Are you ready?
Yes.
Ready! All right. Daniel, want to try the first one?
We can book. No?
Well, read the whole sentence.
We can book once you've decided what you like to see. No, it not sound good.
It's not that.
It does sound good.
It's not that. It's not that it sounds bad. It's that in the listening, that they weren't talking about a booking. I think these questions go in the order that you heard in the listening. They follow the same order that you heard. Okay. Sylvia, what do you think for number 1? We weren't talking about...
We will email you once you have decided what you like to see.
Okay, we got the right context. It was about emailing. That's correct. Okay? But what about the actual language now? So try one more time, Sylvia. Say it again.
We will email you, no?
Exactly. So we'll say it like this. We'll, W-E''LL. We'll email you. What will we email you, by the way? What is it we're going to send, Sylvia?
No, I write only the word email, and so I'm
The
trying to...
itinerary.
There you go, Yuki. The itinerary.
itinerary.
That's it. The itinerary is like a schedule, right? The itinerary. So number one is we'll email you the itinerary, the final itinerary, once you've decided what you'd like to see. That's it. Hernan, what about number two? Want to try that? By the way, the most important thing here is that you get the verb tense correct, because we're talking about how to discuss plans. I don't care if the actual vocabulary is perfect, but the best thing is you get the verb tense. Hernan, what do you think about number two?
So, I don't know.
So to get used to it, you can read it like this, Hernan. So blank, espacio, so blank, how hummingbirds operations work in China. So this is the representative, Claire, talking to the reporters. This is Claire talking to the reporters. Do you recall what she says?
No, I don't know.
Okay, try it with the word plan. She's trying to express that these plans are for you, talking to the reporters. So try to use the word plan in this sentence.
Okay, so the reporters are planning?
Not the reporters, but the company, Hummingbird. It's not the reporters who are planning. We're doing what? We Hummingbird Teas are doing what?
So
in other words, it's not the reporters who are doing the planning. Who is doing the planning, Hernan? Who is? Well, if it's not the reporters, then it's got to be the company itself, Hummingbird, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're going to say we because we're the company, and what are we doing, Hernan? We're
Planet. We plant.
Okay. Remember, it's a future though. Got to use the future. So is it we will plan or we are planning to show you Hummingbird?
Will.
We will.
Yes.
Do we all agree, class?
No.
No. Why not?
We're going to planning.
We're going to plan.
To plan, sorry. We're going
to plan. Sylvia, would you say we're going to plan or we're planning?
Planning.
I agree. So let's see if we can understand the difference. Hernan says will, right, which is a future. So it's not wrong, but it's not the best choice. Daniel, you say going to plan, which is a future. It's not wrong, but it's not the best choice. Sylvia says planning, which is the best choice. So what's the difference between the three forms? Why is planning the right choice here? Sylvia, let's see if you... It's a?
A gerund is... Okay, I know that in Latin it's consecutive temporum.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's also here the rule to follow.
In Latin it's what? Say again?
Consecutive temporum.
I have no idea what the first word. Temporo, I understand, but what's the first word?
It's a gerund.
It's not a gerund, though. It's not.
No?
No,
Okay.
it's not. but the first word, could you write it for me in the chat window? Consequentu temporo, is that what you said? It's just because I didn't understand the first word. Ah, there we go. How do you say that?
Consecutio temporum.
Consecutio temporum. Interesting.
I think if you have a obvious idea, plan, you'll use gerund, be and gerund. So in this case, we are planning to show you.
Don't use the word gerund here, because you'll get confused later. It's not a gerund. It's not, actually. What it is, and we can look at the Latin, Sylvia, because maybe this will make sense. The problem could be the word. Maybe you're confusing gerund with present participle. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So the verbs have basically 4 different forms, right? The to form, which is the infinitive, the ing form, which is present participle, the ed form, which is past participle, and then the not to form, which is called the radical, or to put it simply, we say the base. So you've got base, to, ing, and ed, or in other words, radical, infinitive, present participle, and past participle. Those are the technical terms in English. So, to make a long story short, because I don't want to confuse you with grammar. To make a long story short, we're using the present continuous, the verb tense present continuous, because it's an arrangement. The present continuous consists of the verb to be plus the present participle. Okay? But the reason why we're using it is because it's an arrangement between people. So I'll put a little note there. In other words, arrangement between people. So it's not a schedule, because it's not written down. It's not a near future, so it's not going to, like Daniel said, but it is an agreement, an arrangement. Because it's an arrangement, we can use just the present continuous. Hernan, does that make sense? When there's an agreement between people, we use the present continuous. Are planning. What do you think, Hernan? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Present continuous. Okay, very good. So it's future as an arrangement. Okay, in the chat window, you can see it there. So that's why I say let's be careful with the grammatical terms, because they're easy to mix up. It's true that the gerund looks like the present participle, and in Latin, I don't know if there's a distinction or not, because I don't really know Latin. Okay. But in English, we make the distinction like this. If it's an action, we call it the present participle of the verb, which is planning. If it's naming the action, not doing the action, if it's nominative, then we call it a gerund. And in that case, it has a distinct use. It's a noun, not a verb. Basically, that's the simple version of the story, if that makes sense. So when I say gerund, I'm probably referring to a noun, planning as a noun. And when I say present participle, which is part of the present continuous verb tense, I'm referring to it as an action. So that's if you want to look at grammar, I think that's the best, easiest way to make the distinction. Anyway, for our purposes today, forget all the grammar. It doesn't matter. What matters is when you're making an arrangement, when it's a definite arrangement between people, it's really going to happen, present continuous. So number 2 is a present continuous. Number 1 is not an arrangement. Number 1 is an uncertain future, right? We don't know when it's going to happen, so we use will. Number 1 is I will email you, because I don't know when you've decided. It's uncertain. So we've got 2 different uses for the future, 2 different context, let's say. Yuki, what about number 3?
Number 3?
Yeah.
Not 4? 3?
Yeah. Number 3.
Okay. The plan, the idea is to spend 4 days at one of the sites where the tea is grown.
That is absolutely right. The idea is to spend. That's right. Wow, this one's a little different, isn't it? Because it's not really conjugated. It's just the verb to be. It's the infinitive. So, after the verb to be, you can use the infinitive to express the future. Clear, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
It sounds a little bit formal, though. So I wouldn't use it all the time. It's a little bit formal. For example, am I to go there or am I to wait for you here? That sounds very formal. We would probably say, am I supposed to go there or wait for you here? So supposed to is a way to replace it to make it less formal. Okay? But anyway, number 3 gives us another tool in our toolkit for talking about plans and arrangements. Let's see. Back to who did not go yet? I guess we're back to Daniel for number 4.
Get the opportunity.
Read the whole sentence. Let's hear how it sounds.
You can get the opportunity to accompany the workers in their daily work.
Okay, but we're not concerned with whether it's possible or not. We're concerned with the future, right? So can expresses ability, but here we don't care about ability.
You should get.
You should expresses possibility or obligation. So that would put our focus on whether we are obliged to do it. And here that doesn't matter. What matters is the future.
You'll get.
That's it.
You'll get the opportunity.
That's it. That's correct. You'll get.
Okay.
Why is this correct? Because you'll get the opportunity to accompany the workers in their daily lives. It's a future, but it's not at a particular date in the future. So it's an uncertain future or indefinite, undefined future. So number 1 and number 4 are very similar. Okay? Number 1 is uncertain, and number 4 is indefinite. We don't know the exact date. But you're right, it's will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And apparently we've scared away Hernan. Sorry, Hernan. Don't be afraid. Come back. Maybe he'll come back. Sylvia, we're on to you for number 5.
We have looked at all the options and arranged to date.
So first of all, we've looked, because I heard we look. We've looked.
We've looked.
Good.
Looked and arranged.
We've looked at all the options and arranged 2 dates. You know, that sounds okay to me. Actually, that's not the answer they're looking for, but that sounds okay. We've looked at all the options and arranged 2 dates. In the actual recording, well, we didn't hear the recording. In the press conference that I read to you, she said something a little bit different. I don't know, Yuki, did you catch what she said in the recording?
Sorry. Could you repeat again?
Sylvia's answer is okay, but in the interview, not in the interview, what is it? In the press conference that I read, the woman representing Hummingbird had a slightly different answer for number 5. Did you catch what it was?
No.
Okay, did anyone? Daniel, did you?
I've heard arranged too.
That's interesting because I don't think that's what I said. Hang on a second. Let me just double check. Here's what I said. Claire says at the end, okay, now the schedules. We've looked at all the options and we're going to arrange 2 dates. So, Sylvia, I think you're not wrong. You can absolutely say that. We've looked at the option and we've arranged 2 dates, but that expresses the past. Here, she's got to use going to because it expresses the near future. We cannot say, and we are arranging two dates because it's not an agreement between anyone. So we've got to use going to express that the future, but it's the future basically now, if that makes sense. So Sylvia, your answer sounds good, but it's not actually what she said. It's not wrong, but to express the future, we're going to use going to.
So usually in the exam, you need to write exactly what they say, or you can arrange. So, for example, in this case, I changed the tense.
Yeah,
it's
but
wrong.
It's only wrong because what we're doing is we're doing a close listening to the audio.
Okay.
That's the only reason why it's wrong. Yeah. In the exam, you would have a really clear context, so you couldn't make that mistake. It's not ambiguous in the exam. Okay, so what I've done here is I've had you listen twice. Once to get the general idea, and you had to make some corrections here on the notes. And then here you listened again for specific words. So you've had to exercise two listening skills, listening for the gist and listening for details. So that is very good exam practice, actually. Let me just see if we have time to do anything else. No, we don't really. Okay, so let me finish class by asking you a question. What can you do to make your life easier in either case? Listening for the gist, the general idea, or listening for details? What can you do to make your life easier, to make it easier for you? Because it's not easy. So what can we do to make it easier for you? What can you do?
I think at first it is easy to get the gist. After that, listening to learning the detail. So I think such a process is important. No, I'm not
maybe,
on the right track.
But what's the What I didn't understand the. What was the process? You mean listening generally first and then listening for the details second?
Yes, I mean that. Firstly, gist. After that, detail. Such a process make you easy, make you understand easier than getting into detail from the beginning.
Okay, I think that's good. I mean, that's true. The first thing is that you need to listen generally before you listen for details. Sure. So that means that if you're in an exam, you need to listen without trying to do anything the first time. Just absorb what you're hearing. And then in the second time, if it's possible, and you wait to the second time to really focus on, because you have a kind of a mental map of the audio.
Yes.
Right? So you've got to get that big picture first. I agree. Sylvia,
it's very difficult to understand what is going on this conversation. So it is important to understand the gist firstly.
Sylvia, you're going to be taking a test, and Daniel, you're looking into the IELTS. So for you two specifically, is there anything that is particularly difficult for you that we could work on in the future? In terms of listening, is there anything particularly difficult?
Okay, I'm used to write some words when I listen. Also now, when I listen the monologue, I try to catch some words and write them.
Right.
And so,
keywords.
Yes. So I usually do also during the first time, not only in the second one.
It's okay.
And then
yes, as long as it doesn't distract you.
Yes, but when I try to put in the sentence, I do a lot of error mistakes. And so that's all.
Okay. Well, if it's about filling in blanks, there's a different technique for that. So that we can look at, because there you've got to use the words that are around the missing space to help you, to guide you. So it's kind of a different skill. If it's about listening, I think what Yuki said is right. First, you must listen generally and to kind of absorb it and get that big picture in your head. Then you can already be prepared for where you have to listen to the details. There's a few techniques I could suggest as well. We don't have time to go into them now, but it depends on how much time you have. When you're writing the keywords, what you should be doing, I think, is making a kind of a mind map of the text, making a kind of structural schema of what you're listening to, so that you can sort of help prepare yourself for the next time. So you know, oh, this is coming up first, there's the key idea, and then so you're mapping out what you hear. So if you're doing it for that purpose, I think that's going to help a lot. Trying to come up with the chronology. Idea 1 is here, idea there is 2. So in other words, reserve your keywords for the big ideas in the text. I say text, but I mean any kind of text, audio text or written text. Text just means what you're hearing in this case. Save your keywords for big ideas the first time you listen. The second time you listen, you can take more specific notes.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best advice I can give if you're in an exam. Now, to prepare yourself for that kind of listening, I have other techniques that we can do, but they involve stopping the audio and giving yourself time to process it. So that's something you do, that's training you do well before you take the exam, because in the exam you can't stop the audio. In fact, if you take a Cambridge exam and you sneeze and you don't hear the recording, you get it wrong. I mean, they're very strict, at least here they are. If you're 5 minutes late and you miss something, you just get it wrong. So they're pretty unforgiving, at least here. I don't know, maybe in other countries they're a little bit better. But when they do the exams here, they don't give you, they make it as difficult as they can. So the best thing is, the second piece of advice is, start working on listening strategies well before you take the test, and they'll become second nature by the time you're in the examination room. So I think those are the best 2 pieces of advice I can give you for now. Okay, we're going to stop here. In the next class, we're going to finish our key expressions for explaining plans and arrangements, working specifically on inviting and recommending. So we're going to listen to a second meeting. We're going to pick out the key expressions. We're going to categorize them so that they're easier for you to use, and then you're going to take those key expressions and you're going to take turns inviting people to an event, making recommendations of things to do or look for, and then we're going to turn it over to you to pick up. Instead of me giving you the event, we're going to finish by us as a class creating an event ourselves. You're going to be dealing with arrangements, invitations, recommendations, and how to respond to those things in a natural way. That's our plan.
Okay.
Sound good?
Okay. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Tell all of your friends and colleagues to come to class, because we had a lot of people watching, but no one coming in, which scares me.
Don't be shy.
Tell them not to be afraid. Okay. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow for 2 hours starting at 10 GMT and then again at 11 for the business class.
Have a
Bye
good
for now,
Bye.
everyone. See you soon.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. See you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.